Welcome to What's in a Game. Today is the first day of NBA free agency, and questions abound for teams across the league. Is Nikola Jokic planning to leave Denver? Are restricted free agents just screwed again this summer? And where is LeBron James going to finish his career? We will answer these questions and more as we react live to the free agent news as it comes in. Stay tuned. Welcome back to What's in a Game. I'm Grace Jean here with my co-host Will Jones. How are you doing today on this fine free agent Tuesday?
God, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I'm worried the Nuggets front office is going to mess things up, or just do nothing. I don't know. I wish I knew what they wanted to do, and I could see what the moves they tried to make that didn't work, just so that I would know where they're at. But we're not going to be privy to those conversations unless something leaks later down the road. But we could be getting the first answers to whether they're about to squander the rest of the Nuggets Jokic window, I guess you could say.
I feel like I've been getting more nervous about the off season the closer it seems to the possibility that Denver does something big that I don't like. Whereas before it was just kind of a fatalism or a nihilism about they'll do some small thing or dump Cam and we probably won't be as good, but blah blah blah. And now we've kind of got all these other things on the horizon. And actually on that note, Will, if you could bring up the anything tweet.
What is the anything tweet?
This was one from a few days ago from, I forget the Twitter user's name. I think she's a Mavs fan. Just kind of summing up the sentiment of this offseason so far, because we're going to talk about a lot of deals that came in the last few days that were just that kind of starting with the LaMelo trade. We're just kind of sure, why not kind of things. We're definitely going to talk about that one next.
Mm-hmm.
Here, SJ Basketball 8. The theme of this offseason is anything. Teams are doing literally anything right now.
Unless, I don't know if we're going to follow that or not.
Well, do you want us to?
I don't know. And is doing nothing doing anything?
Well, doing nothing would mean not paying Peyton Watson.
I guess I just mean keeping the same dudes. I guess that would be a move. That would be something. Keeping it the same is doing something.
That's a choice. That's a choice in itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be or not to be. That is the question. All right. So the way that this is going to work is Will and I are going to break down some of the biggest kind of trades that have happened over the last few days and stuff, and we're gonna lay out the kind of context for Denver and some other notable teams heading into free agency, which opens in just about 36 minutes, is when teams officially start negotiating with players that are not currently on their rosters. So we'll have a lot of extension news coming in because teams were previously allowed to negotiate with their free agents over this last few weeks, ever since the finals were over. And we're going to try to react to some of the bigger free agent kind of stories as they come in, and then kind of come back to some of the older news and kind of discuss what it means for those teams and for the league and for Denver ultimately, as we work through some of these rumors. So we're going to be a little bit all over the place in the service of live reactions, right?
Yeah, last year we thought we were going to get nothing, and then we got, Tim Hardaway and Valanciunas and the MPJ trade. I don't know that we're going to have that, and Bruce Brown. I don't think we're going to have that much stuff to react to, but you never know.
And because of some of the big news that dropped this morning, we don't know if anything's going to come in right away, because it seems like another big domino has perhaps not fallen, but come up to perhaps put a stall on free agency in the LeBron James news. But before we get to that, I wanted to touch on one it's an off-season story, but it's not a roster move story here. First big news item that we've got is Malik Beasley has been indicted by the DOJ on gambling charges as part of that gambling probe. This was he's been indicted along with former NBA player Ed Davis, also a friend of Jimmy Butler. Apparently, I wasn't aware of this until this news came down. The specific case that the DOJ is, or the specific game that the DOJ is like charging him for, and there might have been more, but this is like the one that they've got that seems the most evidence on, kind of hinges on this game from 2024 when Malik was with the Bucks, and it's all hinged on prop betting, right? So betting, I think this one was actually not about an under but an over on like rebounds or something. But that was pretty big news yesterday, because it seemed like after Malik was, I think, originally arrested but not charged as part of the probe last year, and then his agent came out and was like, you can't, you kind of ruined my guy's like free agency and like all of this stuff, and innocent until proven guilty and all this stuff, and that still holds. So these are still just charges right now, but he wasn't actually charged last summer. And I wasn't sure if anything else was going to come from this case on Malik Beasley's, like on him specifically. Even though there was that whole Pablo Torre kind of expose that kind of ended on a ambiguous note when it came to Malik specifically. There were other kind of shady characters involved in this. Obviously, there's a wider probe that involves like Chauncey Billups and other like active players. Jontay Porter was kind of found as like part of this same probe. But now actual charges have come down on Malik Beasley, and it's not looking good, because they've got text messages that sound pretty bad, that are like, hey man, you're in debt. We should do sports gambling. Let's switch over to Snapchat to talk about this. And then there's messages not between Malik and this guy, but between some of the other kind of co-conspirators that have been snagged as part of this case, like the people who were actually like placing the bets, kind of thing. But it seems like it all stemmed from Malik accruing just insane amounts of gambling debt himself, and then owing favors to like the wrong people, kind of thing. So it's not looking good for him. Of course, these are just charges, innocent until proven guilty, but like I said, it's not looking great. Not looking great there.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for him. I've never been a Malik Beasley fan. He's had lots of issues. Not surprised by this at all. He's kind of a shady dude. I didn't really even like his basketball. He had that one good season where he shot well on the Bucks. Was it the Bucks? And then, yeah, I know people have thought maybe it could be an option for the Nuggets. He's a shooter. You want to add some shooting. He used to be on the Nuggets, but I figured he probably wouldn't be in the league, whether it was from his play or this gambling thing. So,
yeah. Well, since we have so much to cover, let's switch over to a lighter note here. Well, if you could bring up the Nuggets Summer League schedule, which came out last week. The Denver Nuggets, I believe they're going to be playing 5 Summer League games. So 4 Summer League games. Okay, cool. July 10th, July 11th. They got a back-to-back at Summer League. Why? The 14th and the 16th. Which is fun. I'm actually going to be at Summer League for 2 of these games, so I hope I can actually catch them. I'll have some other stuff to do, so I'm going to like a seminar there. But that should be exciting. See some stuff live. Maybe I'll get to see Trayvon Brazil's incredible hops live. That could be really fun.
Also, I did hear from an Arkansas fan that I was told to pronounce his name like Trevin Brazil.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not, but he said for the whole time he was in Arkansas, everyone called him Trevin Brazil.
All right, Trevin, it might be. I was taking my cues from CT, but I'll get clarification on that before the next show.
In case you see him at Summer League.
yeah, that's good to know. I'm actually really curious if DaRon's going to play any Summer League games at all.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he played with the Gold like all of last season when he wasn't with the team. So there's kind of no point in that for him but I would like to see him play. I probably wouldn't get to see him because I think I'll only be there for the last 2 games, and if he did play, it would probably only be in like 1 game, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, excited to see Trevon and the rest of the Summer League guys. JJ Barea is going to be coaching the Nuggets Summer League team this year as well, so that should be really fun. You know, curious to see what kind of things he does with the offense. Denver, because of their spot where they're in with their roster right now, we're going to talk about that next as we kind of go through like what Denver's kind of situation looks like heading into free agency. They might be just like straight up auditioning backup point guards at Summer League, because of where the market is right now for that position and where Denver is right now with that position. So that actually could be like consequential games for whoever gets the point guard spot on the Denver Nuggets Summer League team. And actually on that note, Denver did decline Jalen Pickett's team option. This was just yesterday. Yeah, that was the deadline to accept or decline his team option. So Jalen Pickett's free. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent and likely not he's not going to be returning to the Nuggets. Was this surprising to you, Will? Because I do think that there were arguments on both sides of this.
Yeah, I was surprised just because the people that I heard talking about it, like Harrison Wind and I read Bennett Durando, right, about it where he thought they were going to pick up Jalen Pickett's option just because he's a cheaper player who'd already been on the Nuggets and he's a point guard and they need point guards and ball handling. And while Jalen Pickett's time on Denver was pretty tumultuous, they kind of seemed like they didn't want to play him at all, especially down the stretch of last regular season, and he didn't play in the playoffs, obviously. So it's like the messaging was that they didn't want him, but everyone was kind of saying they were going to keep him. So I was surprised just by that. But by the way the team handled it, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised at all.
So one of my favorite Twitter follows is actually Ryan Freemeyer. He actually put out a off-season kind of preview back in early May. And I read it and I thought it had some good stuff in there. But there was one line that was that was kind of appalling to me, and it caused me to DM someone, and I found that message, and it said, Freemeyer putting the likelihood of Pickett returning at 90%, and I'm calling BS. So I was like, did I hallucinate that I didn't think he was coming back? Because there were a lot of people that thought that Denver would pick up that team option. I will say the only thing that didn't make it like 100% for, like, in my eyes, 100% that he was not coming back is that his salary, had they picked up the team option, would have been just a little bit less than the veteran minimum. And I was like, well, if Denver's just cutting corners everywhere and they just need to fill out like required roster minimums, this would just be like a guy that takes up like the lowest possible salary that they could pay. I'm also speculating that it's very possible that Pickett's agent was like, can you please release us so we can try to go somewhere where he'll actually play? Because it seems like there's no there here. And if we're just going to be a body for you on the roster, like, let us go. Pure speculation from me, but I think it'd be perfectly reasonable if that were to happen. Given that this was probably like his last like chance to try and get like a second contract in the NBA. And that kind of takes us into the rumors and the actual situation on the ground when it comes to where Denver's at heading into free agency right now. So the first big story of the week is the elephant in the room. Mark Stein and Jake Fisher came out with a kind of joint report a few days ago saying that sources close to Nikola Jokic say that he is, quote, considering not re-signing this summer. This, of course, caused an uproar within Nuggets fandom as well as outside of it, because obviously the possibility that Nikola Jokic could be a free agent next summer he has a player option, by the way, notably created a lot of consternation like in Denver and a lot of perhaps jubilation outside of Denver. And I think it was yesterday on Sunday, Mark Stein went on the All City All NBA podcast and came out with update reporting that said, despite what he had heard, Jokic has reiterated his wanting to stay in Denver. And it was kind of ambiguous how that was worded, because it wasn't clear that was something that was said after the original reporting, or if it was just referencing Jokic's past statements, as we've talked about on this show, about wanting to be a Nugget forever, wanting to spend his career in Denver, all of that stuff. And getting that kind of reiterated to him from sources within the Nuggets front office. Okay. So that's the story. Will, is this a good thing? Because some people thought it was when they first saw it.
No. Well, I guess I get the perspective that people think it's him putting pressure on the organization to make the team better. And so therefore they think it's good from that perspective. But I don't think anytime that there's doubt that the best player that's ever been in your franchise is not locked up is not good. And I don't know what Jokic is thinking. I'm not really that worried about it just because of his past statements and just how he is. But this just puts some kind of uncertainty around the extension, and it would be much nicer to just know that he's going to sign it. But I just wonder what he's thinking. I was waiting for people to come talk about, people have mentioned it, but like the financial ramifications of it, and could it just be a financial thing? Like, who knows what he's really doing? Who knows how the story really got to Mark Stein and Jake Fisher? It's just a lot of speculation right now, and so I'm not really getting too deep into it, but it's definitely not a good thing on its face.
Yeah. I agree with you, especially on that first part, because if you want to put your organization in the best possible spot to like put the best team around you, you don't want doubt or uncertainty about your position. We saw a direct example of this happening just last summer, where Brook Lopez stated just straight up, I was going to sign with the Lakers, but I didn't know what they were going to do with LeBron. That was another summer where the Lakers just like didn't talk to LeBron until whenever, like didn't, and then he just took his player option, and they were like, "Ooh, we don't know what's going to happen with that." And so Brook Lopez decided to side with the Clippers instead. And that's just the straight from the player's mouth. Exactly what their thinking was on that. I would be very skeptical that it was if this is something that Jokic like said to anyone ever, right? Because you could easily see like one of his brothers or like Misko, his European business manager, putting out there like, oh yeah, he's definitely thinking about not signing this summer, and like trying to be ambiguous about what that means so as to kind of create an air of like, so you better do the right things this summer, Nuggets organization. I'm skeptical, even if Jokic had ever like expressed that it was about putting pressure on the organization. And the reason why is, why would you wait until a few days before free agency starts to do that if that was your intent? You would have wanted to, instead of kind of unequivocally stating at your exit interviews or like the last, post game of the season that you want to stay in Denver, you want to be in Nuggets forever. You would have done what like Giannis has been doing for the last 3 years. It's like, I want to be in an organization that's like built to win and like trying to win. And as long as we're doing that, like, I'm good here. There was none of that, right? So I saw this report and I was like, if this is true, this is like the most like not thought out way of like trying to apply pressure to it's like it's like something that has to like build over time, not kind of come out of nowhere at like the least opportune time, right?
Well, but wait, why are you saying it's the least opportune?
Well, you would want to have, if you wanted to publicly apply pressure to your organization, you would do it as early as possible.
Oh, right. To
so
like
that they have as much time to like
whatever,
prepare and like do the thing,
but
like
to do
before
it like
the
right
draft,
before free agency, and
right.
Yeah,
it's like,
before
wait, what? Like, it's just confusing, right?
Or maybe he thought, maybe he didn't like the draft, and then he was like, oh, now I need to do this.
I mean, what, like, no, I don't think this I don't think that so. Happened. That's the thing, is like, it's so absurd that I don't think that that's what happened. And Mark Stein has been very careful to reiterate that there was no indication or no specific, whoever his source is, no specific indication that if Jokic did wait, that it would be until next summer. It could just be like at the end of this summer, this, that, and the other. One of the things right now is that obviously he is participating in the FIBA World Cup qualifiers to help Team Serbia qualify for the World Cup that's happening next year. They are playing in those qualifying games until July 6th. Jokic is extension eligible starting July 6th. So it might just be a thing where it's like, I won't sign right away, but like when I get back to Denver, not that he will come back to Denver immediately anyway. I don't know. So those are my thoughts on like the rumor aspect of it. If it is true, like you and I both stated, like it could make it difficult to get better free agents. And I mean, Denver's always had trouble getting better free agents here. But if they don't know that Jokic will be here, that's not great. It's always possible that Jokic changes his mind about wanting to stay in Denver. And the longer it goes on without him signing an extension, the more it is beyond reasonable, frankly, for the organization to talk to him about a trade. If they think that there is any significant chance that he won't re-sign next summer. Like if he'll opt out of his player option and become an unrestricted free agent, because Denver can't afford to lose him for nothing.
Yeah.
That's like the nuclear option here. And this is like all hypothetical because like I said, he's not even extension eligible until July 6th. Although we could get news of him having agreed to the thing before that, obviously. We just haven't. And there's always the possibility that he leaves. But it would be a departure from like a stark departure from everything that he said up until this point.
I did like what Matt Moore was saying, that Jokic isn't the kind of person who'd be like, I want to be Nuggets forever, and then so quickly be like, actually, I'm leaving. And I get that there's.
He also said that if Jokic did leave, maybe he's not maybe Matt was wrong about the person that he was. Not in like a negative way, but it's just like I had an incorrect assessment of this human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know how likely the chance of him kind of switching up and wanting to leave is. Like, yeah, anything's possible, I suppose, but I definitely still doubt it. And I would be surprised if something nuclear happened in the way that we've been talking about it. But like, we had a comment from Faye to Bolivia, who we appreciate your comments. My theory, he's decided only doing one last contract this year plus the 5-year extension. He's done. Would him waiting wouldn't add on any extra years, would it? Because even if he signed now, it would be added on the next year.
Yeah, because he could just accept, he could opt into his player option and then add the extension to the back of that. So it doesn't really add years potentially for him to.
I mean, I still agree with what Fade to Bolivia was saying, and not that she was saying that. I just had a question. I was like, when I first heard it, I did think, is there any way this means one extra year of Jokic? Because I know a lot of people are saying he might be done after this next one, but yeah, too bad about that. Yeah, I think we'll be okay with Jokic. I still don't know if it's even, I'm skeptical that it's even him trying to put pressure on the organization, as a lot of people are wanting to frame it, but maybe he is.
It would just be like out of nowhere, like very, and I'm not saying that, some people don't necessarily plan these things. They're just like, oh, okay, I need to put pressure on the org, so let me just do this. I'm not, if that is the plan, it's like not very useful. I also don't really like organizations operating under duress, even if it didn't affect like the ability to get free agents, because it just drives organizations to do potentially reckless things, which is the next thing that we're going to talk about here. Well, because the other big Nuggets rumor over the last few days has been about whether Denver is very seriously in the Jaylen Brown sweepstakes from the Boston Celtics. So this kind of, I mean, it started with the Celtics getting eliminated and Jaylen kind of going on his Twitch account and like recounting all of the missed calls in games. And
so funny. He's been online a lot, just talking about everything.
He has.
Talking about the playoffs, talking about how he's being treated. That kind of came to mind when I was thinking about this. Like Jokic, I don't know that he'd like that kind of co-star, but
very public. Jokic doesn't like all that attention on like petty things with respect to the team. It was reported that Jaylen Brown did meet with Brad Stevens in, I think, early June. Before one of them, he was Jaylen, I think, had an international trip and like a camp or something that he was doing, and talked about trading him, about like, is it time to move on kind of thing. So there's been a lot of reporting about potential Jaylen Brown destinations, which include, I thought that the Pelicans honestly would have been a spot for him. Like, I thought that deal would have like happened already. Honestly, I'm very curious to see how Brad Stevens like pulls a rabbit out of his hat with this one. Now, it might just be fleecing Denver. But there were some remarks made by Bobby Marks on, I think it was like a Sirius XM radio situation where he was talking about Boston trying to, like, the Jaylen Brown's trade market. And one of the comments that he made was that like somebody in an analytics department told him that like one of their stats had Jaylen as like the 7th best player on the Celtics. Came out later that stat was like net rating, which is like, okay. Which I also found was kind of funny because like it's been a running story all season about like, yeah, like Jaylen, like, you know, maybe raised their floor ish this season, but or like held up the floor, you could say, but the stats all said that like the Celtics were better with him off the floor this season, whether it was him missing a game or just the bench minutes, which is interesting. But those comments set off a mini tweet storm from him. So he just kind of continued to crash out. And it's just like been this downward spiral. He's been like tweeting himself, replying to people. Like I saw like a back and forth between Jaylen Brown and Bobby Marks on Twitter. And I was like, this is too Saturday Twitter coded for me. I'm going to, what did I do on Saturday? I went to a friend's birthday party. I'm out of here. You guys fight amongst yourselves. But then it continued into the whole next day and it started this whole dialogue about analytics, you know, this big boogeyman and how it's ruining the game. Anywho,
yeah,
it's just kind of a continuation of Jaylen sort of publicly spiraling over the trade possibilities and the way that he feels he's being treated potentially on his way out of Boston.
I mean,
Denver,
I don't blame him.
Yeah. I don't blame him for feeling that way. I will say what he's doing or had been doing, I think he was relatively quiet yesterday, makes it more difficult for Boston to find a decent trade partner for him. So it's very counterproductive.
He's trying to sabotage his trade value.
He just loves Boston so much. Yeah.
But it is kind of weird that he had that season, whether, you know, it had all kinds of opinions. People talking about him being MVP and all that just because he was playing without Jason Tatum and carrying the team to a very good record. And people thought they really were a contender, even though they went out early. So to be kind of shopped after that, it would, you know, feel disrespectful for sure. Whether or not you think it's a good idea for the Celtics to trade him, because like I totally get why they might want to do that at the same time.
So Denver has been in basically every Jaylen Brown trade rumor over the last, I would say, 5 days or so. They weren't necessarily in the ones that were occurring before kind of the end of last week. But Denver's been rumored to be very interested, quote unquote, in trading for Jaylen Brown. There have been conflicting reports about that, saying kind of like Denver's interested, but maybe not as interested as has been characterized in some of the reports, which I find that to be very interesting from Denver's perspective. The reason that I find it interesting that Denver would be interested in Jaylen Brown is because of what we talked about whenever we did our I think our first Fire. I think was it the first Fire Everyone show, or maybe the one after that, after the Nuggets season ended, where we talked about Jamal trades. And I think Jaylen Brown was one of the first ones that we discussed as like a which team says no situation. And I said both teams say no. Although at this point, I think maybe Boston doesn't. But the reason I said Denver would say no is that Jaylen Brown's contract is absolutely massive and would not save Denver money, which would be part of their goal in executing like a bigger trade like this. He makes as much money as Jokic. He's on the 35% max life. So just to give you a sense of the scale here, he's at 34.6 this year, this upcoming season, 35.2% of the cap the season after that. He's making $57 million. So $7 million more than Jamal. That's like a whole other player, or like a couple players, depending on like the quality that we're looking for here. And if you trade, like, Jamal is kind of involved in like every reasonable iteration of this trade because of that money situation. Because if you're not trading Jamal, then it's like, are you going to have two super max guys and a max guy on your roster? You're becoming even more top heavy.
Right.
There was one construct of the trade where I was like, this might be reshuffling deck chairs, but in a way that might make that has the potential to make both teams better in like meaningful ways, depending on like how much you value internal cohesion in Boston. And that iteration was like Jamal and AG for Jalen and Derek White, so that you can replace at least like having a primary ball handler situation there. Because if you trade Jamal for JB like straight up or like close to straight up, because you still have to make that money work, Denver would have no point guards left on the roster, no guards left on the roster, because as it stands right now, Jamal is the only guard left on the roster. So that's not to say that that's the reason not to do the move, but it would have to be the precursor to another significant move. If it was just Jamal and JB kind of involved.
Yeah, that's why I mean there was the reports that they weren't interested in Jamal, which was interesting as well. Yeah, they're both kind of in a similar situation.
If they weren't getting rid of Derek White. I think that's the thing with like the iteration of the trade that is just JB doesn't actually make sense for Boston either, because they do have Derek White. And they're not trying to go kind of two guards there.
Well, I know it's all this reporting around this time is frustrating, because you get one report that the Nuggets are deeply interested, and then another one that was overstated. So, and you could see many different kinds of people. But not a denial
that they were interested, which is interesting.
Yeah, not a situation where you could be confident either way. People could be leaking stuff for like all kinds of reasons to make trades
Brad Stevens could be leaking all of this to try and drum up a market for Jaylen Brown that is apparently not there. Especially after the Blazers made another big move that we're going to talk about in the next segment.
So I don't know if you have a specific question about this, but like, what would you think besides the money? Because that is a lot to have.
That's like a big part of it for me, honestly, because I think that Jaylen would be an elite. My assessment on it is that I think Jaylen would be an elite 2B. I don't see him as a 1B or 2A on this team. Obviously, he was like a 1B on Boston, and some people saw him as the 1A. I really thought Tatum should have gotten that Finals MVP. I can't believe the media did that. But on a team, and we've talked about this because of the specific challenge of building a team around Nikola Jokic, is that you need pretty high level ball handling and like on ball creation. You need somebody that is your 1B or your 2A next to Jokic to be a good playmaker on ball. And Jaylen Brown is a bad playmaker on ball. Like, turnover central.
People used to make fun of him for that before they won the
Not a good
finals.
Passer, and afterward. He had one good year after that. And then
that was like the hope was they'll turn the ball over a lot. Right. They can't dribble. Like, that's how you stop the Celtics. Yeah, the fit is questionable. Also, if he does want to be like a de facto number one option, he's going to be annoyed to be on the Nuggets, but maybe
I
he
mean,
changed
a lot
his
of people said
tune when he
that, but
got here.
I don't really see evidence that he's like, I want my own team. I think he just wants to be somewhere he's respected. Because, like, understandably, he hasn't been
Hopefully.
respected as like the caliber player that he thinks he is in Boston. And like I said, for Denver, for like with his skill set, he'd be like an elite like second and a half option, right? Because he's better than a third option, but I don't think that he's good enough to be a second option on this team because of the needs that Denver needs in their on ball spot from somebody that makes as much as Jalen does. This would be a completely different conversation, by the way, if it were Tatum, because he is a good playmaker. Even though he makes the same amount of money, whatever, it's just like, okay, that's what we need from somebody at that. Obviously, he brings a bunch of other stuff to the table as well. Jason Tatum does. But the negative playmaking is a really big factor in this for me in terms of a fit with Denver because of the contract. It's like you actually, like, I could actually overlook a lot of the other issues, but the fact that you have them on this size contract doesn't work with Denver's roster construction, where their best player is an off-ball player and needs more from those guys that play on ball, right? Now, some of the other knocks is like, he's not a very efficient shooter. I don't love his shot diet, but in addition to that, he doesn't make as many of the shots that he does take. But argument there is he could potentially get more efficient next to Jokic. Maybe his shot diet changes, gets better. Although it's kind of interesting to have like a bad shot diet on the Boston Celtics, which has one of the like
it's pretty easy
better shot diet like an aggregate teams in the league, so it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb over there.
Yeah, it really does.
Another argument for him is that he could potentially be, Boston is a team where it's like, well, yeah, they were better on the floor with him, like off the floor, because they just have all these great players. Like that would have happened to like anybody. But maybe Jalen, they were still positive in Jalen's minutes with like, I think with Tatum off the floor for sure, because they were winning games this season, and he's potentially a better that like floor raiser that Denver's been looking for in those Jokic off minutes, right? That's like I don't know that would necessarily happen, but that's like there's some evidence to suggest that could at least be the case. But I think because it would be because I don't know what that like second move would have to be to address the ball handling and play like frankly the on-ball playmaking deficit. It's like severe on-ball playmaking deficit that the team would then have, and they already had one. Like we've been talking about this for literally years, even with Jamal on the roster. That it's hard for me to conceive of this being a good idea because I don't trust them to make that next good move. And this just comes with there's more inherent risk.
When I first heard of it, Vyacheslav said JB proved himself in the playoffs more than Jamal. Gam, I don't know how to say this. Gam Shine JB defense would be so satisfactory in the playoffs. So like when I heard about the idea of trading for him, I was a little bit worried because I thought it would be that we'd trade AG because Celtics I would think would be more interested in like a forward like him. And once they didn't get Giannis, they're like, let's, we got to shift gears. If his value is going down, like Jaylen Brown, top 10 player in the league, maybe by some people, getting AG back for him could be good for the Celtics, of course, even if it's not, like, depending on how you view it, a fair value, and if you're worried about AG's injuries and all that. But so I was worried about that. I don't want AG to be traded for Jaylen Brown. But yeah, then at least you have Murray and Jaylen Brown. While that would be an incredibly top-heavy team money-wise, basketball-wise, I'd like it a little bit more. But if it's Murray for Jaylen Brown, the chance been bringing up, that's ball handling issues. Then you're going to have to get a point guard. So many questions remain, even if we do get Jaylen Brown. But I get that some people are super high on it. They want it because he's a top player. He did win Finals MVP, whether you agree with it or not. And pairing that with another Finals MVP, is that enough like talent to just kind of shake things up for the Nuggets, and you just kind of build around it from there? And like you're saying, what does Jaylen Brown add to his game, and does it fit with the Nuggets? You know,
I want him to pare down his game. Actually,
pare it down.
Yeah,
just defend, and hit some shots. And yeah, would his role be reduced too much, even if you got him? Just because you can't give him so much license to score a lot, you know?
Or maybe you should. We've been talking about it, right? Maybe Denver needs to sacrifice some efficiency to get Jokic's usage down. And to just get more going from the perimeter. But yeah, it's interesting. He and Jamal are the same age. Both 29. Were they in the same draft class?
JB on second unit. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, 2016.
You know who I want in the second unit? Well, I don't know that I really want it, but it would be funny if it was LeBron. I was like, LeBron, great backup for AG. Just saying.
Yeah. But like you said, Boston is apparently not interested in Jamal, which, again, I find interesting. It's less interesting if the only deal on the table doesn't include Derek White. If it did include Derek White, I think that they would have to get interested in Jamal. Apparently, they're also looking for multiple first-round picks on top of whatever deal, and Denver literally has no first-round picks that are tradable right now. Yeah. So another thing that's like, this is why you would, if you were a player that wanted to publicly apply pressure to your team, you would have wanted to say some of the stuff that is rumored to be being said by Jokic before the draft, like well in advance of it.
Also, you know, the Blazers were interested in Jaylen Brown, but they got Ja, which we can talk about later.
Which we will. I'm not convinced that that's the end, though, because I posed the question after that trade of like, does this take them out of the Jaylen Brown sweepstakes? And really, because of their guard heaviness now, it's actually like, I think they probably actually want to make another consolidation move here, but we're going to talk about that.
But I just wanted to say real quick, could there be some 3-team thing between the Blazers and Nuggets and Celtics, where it's like, because there's a lot of like,
saw some of those
every team doesn't have exactly what they have or need, and it's like I could see some pieces going out, and like, does Drew Holiday come here through a Celtics, Jaylen Brown to Portland? I don't know, kind of a thing, and then the picks go to the Celtics from Portland.
Yeah, that's very possible. And then they get Jaylen Brown.
And free agency has started.
Something. Yes, that is that was the next announcement I was going to make. Free agency is open. We will react to things as they come. Oh, the NBA actually just put out a communication 10 minutes ago. The salary cap for next season has been set at $164,961,000. A lot of websites have been operating under a $165 million salary cap assumption. So we're right about there. And the luxury tax level, slightly less than people thought it was going to be, which is going to squeeze some teams trying to get under it even more. They thought it was going to be around $201 million. It's $200.4 million. Is the luxury tax level that some teams are probably going to be looking to duck. I don't think Denver is going to duck the luxury tax this summer, even with a big trade now, even with a Jamal, even if like a Jamal and AG trade.
Just because there's no way to get under it.
Yeah.
It's just too impossible.
Yeah. All right. Last piece of Denver news before we talk about some of the landscape heading into free agency, which has already started. Are the Clippers potentially in hot pursuit of Peyton Watson? The Los Angeles Clippers actually just... Oh, I actually forgot to add the Kawhi news here, but you've got the story. If you could bring up the graphic on the Kawhi trade.
Oh, you want that now?
Yeah. So yesterday, the Clippers had picked up Brook Lopez's $9.2 million team option. And I was like, it doesn't seem like they're clearing up cap space, because otherwise you would have declined that to keep cap space and then dealt with Brook last, right? because that's you need cap space in order to give a restricted free agent like Peyton an offer sheet in the first place. Then today, the Clippers traded Kawhi Leonard to the Toronto Raptors for Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, 2 first-round picks, a pick swap, and 2 second-round picks. I actually think this is a great haul for the Clippers because Kawhi is on the last year of his deal. The thing is, like, he's going to the team that he wanted to go to, which is a good team. So who knows how valuable those first-round picks will end up being. But the Clippers had literally no first-round picks that were tradable. Outside of I think they're 2033 maybe was tradable. But they had completely depleted their draft stores in the Paul George deal, and now they've got so they do have some of their far off first round picks available, but they won't have any draft picks. So I'm actually curious which year picks these are. I'm assuming they're going to be like closer, but maybe they're further off because they want the higher value, like kind of higher upside play that could be more valuable for the Clippers in trades. They do have to take on Brandon Ingram's contract, but when you consider the fact that the Clippers have to spend money, you have to get up at least up to the salary floor, and they don't control their draft picks for like the next couple years anyway. They don't care if they're good or bad, so they'd rather be good because you don't want to be bottom of the league because that's now penalized in the new lottery system. Actually, and the pick swap and 2 second round picks. I'd like to see the years, but I don't think this is a bad haul for LA at all. I think Brandon Ingram has he only has 2 years left on his deal this upcoming season and then a player option. So it's not actually even that bad. Just kind of interesting because if you think about one of those first round picks being thrown in to salary dump a 2-year contract, it's perhaps interesting to compare that to what Denver did with MPJ. Until we know the years of the picks that were traded, we can't really draw any conclusions on that. But the ultimate conclusion on this with respect to where the Clippers have landed financially after all of this is that they've got about $23 million in cap space that they can play with. Now, part of the problem first of all, like Denver would absolutely match a $23 million deal for Peyton in terms of an annual value situation. So that's not enough, I think, to pry him away from Denver. The other problem for them is that they've got their own restricted free agent to worry about in Benedict Mathurin, as well as their first round pick, who's currently taking up a piece of their cap hold as well. So I actually don't know if the 23 million is including those two guys. In terms of like they have holds on the Clippers caps that they can't access that cap space, even though those guys haven't signed yet. So I actually don't see the Clippers as like a huge threat for Peyton. We'll talk about another Los Angeles team that might be after this morning, but it was clear that there were reports about how the Clippers might be clearing up cap space to sign Peyton Watson, and they were very clearly coming from Peyton's camp, and like Clutch Sports most likely trying to drum up a market for Peyton Watson and try to get some other teams interested. And there might still be teams interested, but I don't think it's going to be the Clippers this time.
Especially after the LeBron news.
Yes, which is going to be the first thing that we talk about in the next segment. Just as a refresher heading into this free agency week, Will, if you could bring up the RFA rules here. Great little cheat sheet from Bobby Marks talking about the rules of when you have to match, like how much time your home team has to match an offer sheet if your restricted free agent gets an offer sheet from another team. So if the opponent team, so like let's say we're talking about Peyton Watson, so any team besides Denver wants to give Peyton an offer sheet during the moratorium period, which by the way starts right now and ends on July 7th. Denver would have until midnight on July 7th to match, which means that team has to be willing to hold up whatever cap space they have to create the offer sheet until Denver decides whether to match or not. And that's really difficult to do when you're trying to make deals with other free agents potentially. If an offer sheet is given if Peyton gets an offer sheet after July 7th and they still haven't, he and Denver still haven't come to an agreement, and he gets an offer sheet after July 7th, there's a little bit of rules about like if you get it like before noon or afternoon, but the gist of it is that you'll have approximately 2 business days basically to Denver will have 2 business days to decide to match it or not. And again, that offer sheet has to be generated with cap space that the other team has. It can't be like, you can't force a sign and trade if you're a restricted free agent. We saw this happen with Johnathan Kuminga last summer. He had other teams that were interested in him. It was the Suns and the Kings that were interested in him, but they didn't have cap space. So they tried to create a sign and trade opportunity to go in with Golden State. But if Golden State doesn't want what that other team is willing to offer, they don't have to go along with the sign and trade. And that left Kuminga in a situation where he had to either accept Golden State's offer or take the qualifying offer, which is the initial kind of lower level, like lower number based on like your draft, like where you were taken in the draft, in order to become a restricted free agent. And Kuminga ended up taking his qualifying offer last year. And what that does is it comes with a no trade clause. And so the idea was that, okay, I'll get traded to a team midseason that I know will pay me next summer. We're going to get to an interesting story with Kuminga there, but basically the rules of this offer sheet highly favor your home team that has the ability to match because of how much it requires of another team to hold up their cap space for the restricted free agent, for the chance that the restricted free agent, because there's always a chance that Denver would just match and then they just wasted a bunch of time and potentially opportunities at other free agents. Last piece of Denver news. Totally forgot because this came down just yesterday. Denver is interviewing new potential lead assistants for David Adelman. Hardly inspires confidence. I will say they apparently are looking for somebody that has more experience in head coaching in order to be that lead assistant voice. This is something that I think, speculated on being a potential strategy last year when they were going through the coaching, not the coaching search, but after they hired Adelman. It's like, okay, how is he going to fill out his staff? And we didn't see too many names of people that had a lot of NBA head coaching experience. Obviously, you have Dudley, who's been, I think he was coming from, he was like in line to be lead assistant in Dallas, but then came to Denver, was lead assistant and kind of defensive coordinator. JJ Barea had experience coaching the Puerto Rican national team, and DA also kept on a good chunk of the assistants from Michael Malone's staff, as well as bringing in some of some new guys as well. We've already seen some names being kind of floated around, and like guys that have been interviewed, including Dave, is it Yeager or Yorger from the Memphis Grizzlies as a potential candidate for that. I'm curious when they actually get that done, because that would just be interesting. We know JJ Barea is going to be the head coach of the Summer League team, but what does it mean for Jared Dudley? Are we going to have is this a code lead assistant situation? Is Jared Dudley just going to be replaced? Is he getting demoted to just not be lead assistant anymore? I'm very curious about that dynamic.
There was a team that was thinking about hiring Jared Dudley. Was it
the Blazers? It was the Blazers.
And they already hired a coach. So.
Yeah. Everybody's all hired up now, so right, because the Bulls got their guy The Mavs very quickly replaced Jason Kidd. Like he was fired, and they got the Michigan guy within within a week.
I guess he'll be demoted, or I think the thinking is whoever comes in would be like the de facto defensive coordinator guy, you know. So what does Jared Dudley do? Move into a new role, I suppose.
Or you could have code lead assistants. That's also possible. But I'm just very curious about like where that goes. It's a weird kind of tightrope act that I think they're going to try to balance here, where they obviously want somebody with more experience, probably head coaching, although I don't think Dave Yeager has head coaching experience. So I don't know exactly what they're looking for in this position. I'm going to look this up right now. Assistant. Okay, so he was head coach of the Kings, and he was head coach of the Grizzlies in the teens. So in the 2013 to 2016. So actually, he does. But you also don't want somebody that is potentially like in the running for DA's job, given that he's going to be in the hot seat next year, because that's just creates like that's just unnecessary tension, because you want the players to still respect the head coach. You want like everybody around them to still like respect like, the head coach and not be thinking like, oh, well, this guy's not going to be around in a few months anyway, so I'm just going to listen to this guy kind of thing. Yeah, it's interesting. I wish they would have just done this last year when they hired DI, right? Because we talked about it. We're like, bring in somebody with experience to just kind of be that like backbencher that can kind of coach up the coach and like help out with, you know, whatever, without being like a threat. But now that when you're bringing him in like a year later, it feels just off. But that's the situation that we're in.
GP of St. John, is a Malone available? Unfortunately, no. He's coaching at North Carolina, but that would be very funny.
They do not want to pay what Malone would ask for to come back to Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, slow news so far. Nothing yet. Could LeBron be holding things up? I saw something that said he wanted Rich Paul to talk to every team to gauge their interest.
Man, well,
LeBron
Rich Paul has absolutely been talking to every team before.
LeBron doesn't want. He not only wants a tour to go around and all the fans, you know, wave to him and cheer for him. He wants to know how much every team wants him before he leaves. That's what he needs.
Yeah. I mean, I would too. I would too, especially, I mean, to be fair, like the Lakers, let's just talk about this, because let's talk about where we're at and like teams we're watching. First, like just to get it out of the way, we're obviously going to be watching like what is Denver going to do today, tomorrow, the rest of this week, the rest of the summer, really. Do they go big with like a big shakeup move, or do they essentially run it back maybe with one guy traded, probably Cam Johnson, because he's the easiest guy to move? If they do go for saving money, how much money are they looking to save? And of course, if they go for that route, which starter or starters get dealt at the altar of luxury tax savings, or sacrificed at the altar of luxury tax savings? The next team that we're obviously looking at here, as you've alluded to, Will, is the Los Angeles Lakers. I had so many notes on the Lakers before the LeBron news that came down this morning, and then they just made the section bigger. So let's just like go for it. Nobody has any idea what the Los Angeles Lakers are looking to do, other than we know that they want a starting center. Before this morning, I had LeBron might be leaving for nothing, but reportedly they haven't talked to him at all. This is as of a few days ago. In this entire window that they've been able to negotiate with their own free agents and figure out what they're going to do, whether it was going to be extend him, trade him, let him walk for nothing, which is absolutely insane, because if they wanted to trade LeBron, especially, but even if they wanted to extend him, they needed to figure that out before heading into free agency. Why? If the Lakers don't want LeBron, then like they can just like let whatever happen. the Lakers needed to make a decision about I talked about the cap hold that certain players have on a team salary cap that doesn't let all of it be accessible until you resolve what you're going to do with it earlier. And part of that was like when you give a restricted free agent a qualifying offer, even though you haven't signed a deal yet, like that money is held off on your cap and you can't access that for other deals. LeBron has a cap hold on his contract, even though he doesn't have a player option or a team option. And the Lakers needed to, in order to access that cap space, they would have to renounce his cap hold. And along with it, LeBron's bird rights. And that would have meant like not being able to sign him to another big deal. So that would have been a decision that they would have had to make, presumably with him, if they wanted to figure out whether they wanted to do that or figure out a sign and trade. Then we get the update this morning that LeBron is indeed leaving the Los Angeles Lakers. Shams reported LeBron James will continue his NBA career for the 26-27 season, which is a bit of breaking news in itself, although nobody thought that he was going to be retiring. But he didn't make this announcement last summer. And we had the whole Hennessy brand fiasco where everyone thought not everyone, but a good bit of people thought he might be announcing his retirement. And it turns out it was just a Hennessy ad. So bit of news that LeBron is indeed not retiring before next season. And has informed the Los Angeles Lakers that the franchise can move on without him because he will play elsewhere. You know that quote is straight from Rich Paul. I'm glad I read that, Will, because I was looking for the Rich Paul words, and it was that phrasing in this Shams tweet. Mm-hmm. And then right there, Clutch Sports CEO Rich Paul tells ESPN. So, but they were like, no, we're not going to make this sound like a Shams report. Like, put my name on that. They wanted to let everyone know that LeBron felt extremely disrespected in the whole situation. I completely understand that. Not only LeBron disrespected is one thing, it's just incredibly stupid of the Lakers to not have tried to talk to him and resolve this before a couple of days ago when they've had this entire window since the end of the finals to figure this out, whether it would have resulted in LeBron staying or not. So this was actually followed up with a statement from the Los Angeles Lakers. Will, if you could bring up that tweet also. Ray, I understand you, but the thing is, like, the way that this went down has implications for Denver. So statement from the Lakers, and in particular, Jeannie Buss, who still holds her role as the governor of the team for the time being. Quote, LeBron James is one of the greatest athletes in history. We will always be thankful for his 8 years with the Lakers, including the title he led us to in 2020 under the toughest imaginable circumstances and the countless records he broke in purple and gold. We wish him all the best in the future, both on the court and off. He will always be a cherished part of the Lakers family. Thank you, LeBron. Okay, great. Wonderful. LeBron followed it up with a tweet of his own. So he actually quoted that and replied to it. No, all caps. Thank you. Truly an honor to wear the purple and gold while trying to continuing the greatness and legacies that came before me. Hope I made a few proud during my stint. Prayer emoji, salute emoji, crown emoji. Great.
Hope I made some proud during my stint. I don't know. It's just so funny. It's like, I don't know. It's almost like downplaying it in some way that he doesn't realize. But yeah.
Well, we got our first free agent news of the cycle, and you won't believe who it's about.
Is it DeAndre Jordan?
It is DeAndre Jordan.
I saw that.
Yes,
we could have brought him back.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I like how DJ does. He's like, I'm not wasting any time. Let's just get this deal done so that I know things and I can, just get about my summer, Yeah,
and there has been reports that Anthony Davis isn't going anywhere. And
yes, the Wizards are not interested in trading him. I think that the Wizards, I think they are interested in keeping AD, but I think they also didn't like the trade offers that were on the table. Because a lot of them were pretty bad.
It's tough. They're going to ask a lot, and I feel like people aren't After he went to the Mavs, got hurt again, and then had to get traded again.
Yeah.
I mean, I get he's on the Wizards now, so the Wizards are going to ask a lot, but he's not going to get that kind of return. I don't know. But I'd probably just, I don't know. I don't know what the Wizards are ever doing.
I think they'd rather take their chances with his injury history.
Last update is Pistons are not interested in sign and trade deal for Jalen Duren and will match any offer sheet.
Oh, interesting. A team saying they will match any offer sheet. I wonder if Jalen Duren is going to get any offers now from other teams.
Yeah, because
that's a
the
good
Pistons
update.
Probably like, he's not going to get a huge offer after what just happened. So why not just say, and I guess they want to keep him. So, yeah, so that's it for now. Unless you guys see anything else. DeAndre Jordan.
Bones Highland re-signing with the Timberwolves.
Bones with the Timberwolves. Not surprising.
Oh.
If LeBron goes to the Timberwolves, I'll also be pissed. Don't want that to happen. Gam shines jokes. I think this is a joke. LeBron to the Spurs. Yeah, he would do that, wouldn't he? Legendary organization, the Spurs. I have so much respect for Pop. I always knew Pop was a good coach. What are you seeing?
Oh, just a trade proposal that someone sent to a chat.
Bulls and what was the other team? Bulls and
Lakers. Are you talking about cap space or?
There was some teams who might have been involved. Oh, the Cavs engaged in some kind of talks. I don't know.
Oh, for LeBron?
No, just for trades. Bulls and Cavs. Talking about trading someone for someone. I haven't heard who, but they're just talking to each other.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, so that's the LeBron trade. It seems like, at least with, it's a little bit of a trickle right now. Same thing as last year. Remember, it was a little bit of trickle and then everything kind of came all at once during free agency. It seems like the LeBron stuff is not necessarily holding up other, at least like minor and moderate business so far, which is interesting. Well, I guess we'll see, like, as the sort of next.
Yeah, like, what team would offer the most money for LeBron?
Hour proceeds. The Bulls could offer the most because they have the cap space. The thing is, like, the Lakers have his bird rights. So that's the other question I forgot about this. Is LeBron going to leave for nothing, or is he going to try to orchestrate a sign and trade to another team so that he can get more money? But it would require working with the Lakers to do it.
Yeah,
because the Lakers would have to accept whatever package.
I feel like he just doesn't want to talk to them at all and just won't do a sign and trade. But I guess
he can go wherever he wants if he wants to take a minimum. So that'll be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, we saw Bones.
Next,
it is funny Bones on a minimum, but that makes sense.
Next kind of interesting team. Go ahead.
I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts on where you think LeBron will go, because I feel like
literally no idea.
Heat would be annoying.
Someone was it you that brought up the Heat to me this morning, and I was like, oh, I hadn't thought about them. Yeah. The Heat might be an interesting.
That would be annoying, him being with Giannis. And I don't know how much he's thinking. I mean, LeBron's always thought about narratives and how he looks. He would get crushed if he goes to Golden State, but who really cares? He kind of has
about
links
Golden
with
State
Steph.
Anymore, though. That's like Dwayne Wade being with Miami Shaq, except it's the whole team that's Miami Shaq, where it's the Warriors are Miami Shaq now, and then
where Bronny got his deal guaranteed.
I love this. So here's the other kind of side note to this story. Yesterday, I saw the alert from Keith Smith that Bronny's contract was now fully guaranteed, because his contract was not initially fully guaranteed. I think it was a partial guarantee for that had to kick in on year 3 now.
Wait, big. We have news. We have to talk about it now. Tim Hardaway Jr. agrees to sign with the
Miami Heat. Yeah, this was not surprising to me. As soon as Giannis went to Miami, I was like, yep, that's a perfect fit for Tim. he's probably going to go there. And then the rumors came, and I was like, yeah, he's gone. So
yeah, we all knew.
Back.
I wonder what the deal is, though. I've always been wondering how much he'd sign for given his play in Denver. What would it be? You know?
He's gone, which makes me kind of sad, but that's another roster spot that's going to be different. Different for next year.
I'm glad he's in the East. I would hate to him be in the West and hit a bunch of threes on us. But you know, he didn't have that great.
THJ was asking for too much money. How do you know how much money he was asking for? He's probably taking a minimum from Miami because they're hard capped right now. So I think he just wanted to go to Miami.
Hey,
he's also going to get a lot of open threes playing with Giannis. That's like the shot that Giannis creates is open threes. So
it was such good minimum signing for the regular season. In the playoffs, not so much. He basically didn't do anything in the playoffs. Sorry.
I mean, you could say that about most of the roster.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah. I loved him though in Denver. I'm definitely sad to see him go.
Yeah,
but yeah, fun. We all knew this was going to happen.
He had good energy. He had a good vibe about him.
I heard he wanted to go to a team with a training facility, says Prometheus Hoops. Mm-hmm. Oh I like that they had the pictures of Trevin or Trayvon and the other guy we drafted. I forget his name already.
Was it Bryce Hopkins?
Bryce Hopkins in the practice room. The practice room. Not the training facility. And I was
like the like half court.
They're like walking around in the room and like as if it's like, wow, check out the facilities. And I'm like, no, don't post them in the small room pretending to be impressed.
Oh no.
Anyway.
That reminds me of like whenever they have like a sponsored challenge on Love Island and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe these bathing suits. And they make them do like a whole thing, like a whole like kind of little SpawnCon skit leading up to the actual challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, what does this mean for Norman Powell?
So Norm Powell, it seems like unlikely that they would have been able to keep him just because the way that they executed the Giannis trade hard capped him at the first apron, which made it nearly impossible for them to pay Norm Powell like real money. So it seems like they're going to be looking to maybe try to get Duncan Robinson back from Detroit in place of that.
The number for THA was 6.5 million 1 year.
Oh, interesting. So they used part of their MLE to do that. Okay.
I guess.
Well, Denver was not going to be able to match that.
6.5. Yeah, that was higher than.
I'm surprised that Miami wasn't able to convince him to take a minimum.
There's no way.
Just because of the basketball fit money. And like he's made his money, the basketball fit, and you get to be in Miami. And it's like a no income tax state, like all that stuff. They have a lot of advantages there that I don't think they've actually utilized that well in free agency for in a while, like in a hot minute. But I'm happy for him. Let's see.
It wasn't 22 million like Bruce made, but good job, THJ.
Well, Bruce wasn't 34 either.
True.
There was at least like a chance that he could like get better. Oh, I just looked at Tim Harder. I was like 59. That's not right. It's his dad. Yeah, he's 34.
Tim Harder. Raven Hackshaw, our good friend. In a way, I think it's good for Denver if they can build a reputation as a place you can improve your value as a player. I mean, a lot of players come through here and they definitely make money. I always have hoped that effect would work on either free agents or trying to convince people to come here. But, free agency, it's not... You would think this version of free agency would lend itself to that because it's not like it's huge stars who are just going to make a ton of money anyway. It's like these kinds of fringe guys in a way where, if they want to rehab value or get a good payday, just come on through.
I mean, the interesting thing is I think Tim is just getting what he probably should have gotten last summer.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Because
kind
like
of was on
Luke
his prove
Kennard
it.
got like $7 million last
He was
year.
pretty good with the Pistons.
Well, he was a starter making like 17 million or something. He wasn't going to be that. So I think he came to Denver, took a minimum so that he could get. But I also thought he could have gotten like mini MLE money, but just didn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but he did sign with Denver on the second day. So, another team to watch, I think, is the Warriors because they are a potential LeBron destination. Are they going to recreate like the Unk show over here with like literally over here in the Bay Area where I live with like Steph, Draymond, LeBron? It was rumored that they might be interested in AD, but it seems like the Wizards were not impressed with whatever package was on the table. I'm really curious to see what the Warriors are going to do since they are the team that I have the most ability to watch in person. I would like if they didn't like totally suck next year. So like the best game I go to in terms of like, oh, it's competitive isn't like Warriors Kings. Although those games are always competitive, regardless of how good the Kings are. The other team is Detroit, and you referenced a report about their willingness to match anything on Jalen Duren. What I was going to say is that they had, through their Isaiah Stewart trade, which we covered that on the last show, right? Because it's not here, which means we talked about it last show. Beef stew getting traded to
Memphis. We did.
Yeah. So they were able to clear out a ton of room under the first apron, just to give themselves like flexibility to sign Jalen Duren. Although I feel like they could have just got both. I think they just wanted to clear out some of their front court kind of backlog and maybe even give more run to Paul Reed, which is interesting. This is not me. This is like coming from like Pistons fans, and I'm like, okay, sure. And it seemed like there was some tumult going on, and probably is some with like them not wanting to give Jalen Duren a max contract just because he made 13 All NBA, thanks to the 65 game rule. So they actually have, it looks like, cap space. Just checking out Jalen Duren's cap hold. They have cap space just straight up that they can use to sign Jalen Duren, even with their first round pick that is kind of waiting to be signed as well. Isaiah Stewart, not that much, but they obviously, because he's a restricted free agent, they have his bird rights. They can pay Duren whatever. It's just a matter of like, I don't know what else they might do, especially if they end up deciding like, I don't know, if someone comes in crazy. It's like if the Lakers were just like, Jalen Duren would be like the perfect lob threat next to Luka, and he'd be our rim protector and like starting caliber center, and wanted to throw like a $50 million offer at him. I would not advise that. Maybe the Pistons are just like, honestly, F off. We're not doing that. We're not matching that, and they let him walk. What else would they do with that cap space? I think that could be an interesting situation for them. For the Pistons potentially. I don't think they're going to let that happen. Apparently, based on all accounts, especially if they mean what they say, and at least seem to mean what they say from the outside about being willing to match any offer. It will mean that you don't get offers from teams like the Lakers that are just like, no, we're going to hold off on like tying up our cap space for a week while you figure out whether you want to deal with this. The other team, you alluded to this with Portland, and we're going to talk about this big trade next. Could be an interesting team because they have too many guards after the Ja Morant deal. So this was the first big trade of the weekend, or there were two. No, it wasn't the first one. It was just the biggest trade of the weekend before Kawhi Leonard got sent to the Raptors. So Ja Morant was traded to the Portland Trailblazers for Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray. No picks involved So that's good for Portland. They didn't have to include picks, and it's good for Memphis because they didn't have to move picks to get off of Ja's contract. It was reported widely that they were struggling to figure out somebody that was willing to trade for Ja.
Yeah, that was a crazy trade. I kind of just signaled to me something else has to happen for sure. Their team's all weird now. I'm not a fan of Ja. I guess you should hope that he gets things together, but I don't know that he will. I just can't believe he's going to be in Portland. But I was glad he went there, not Jaylen Brown, because while we just talked about Jaylen Brown and maybe some issues with his game, he's still a pretty good player, and I don't want him as an opponent if I don't have to. Yeah, the new owner is just so bad in Portland. It is a shit show over there. What news? Any news?
Just takes, really. Jeff Morton is like mad about Tim Hardaway Jr. leaving because he's referring to the great cheapening at KSE. My response to that is just, if Denver does what my preferred tact would be for this summer, which is just pay Peyton and keep everybody, they'll be a second apron team, which means they literally would not be able to pay Tim more than a minimum. Like, it wouldn't be allowed. So that's not how I would see this. Obviously, we don't think that they're going to go into the second apron, but if they're leaving that option on the table, they can't just go out the first day of free agency and try to give Tim like mid-level money and then hard cap themselves at the second apron, because that might make it difficult to pay Peyton if they can't find. It might make it impossible to pay Peyton if they can't find trade partners for like another starter that they wanted to clear out. So I disagree with that particular critique. We always thought that the most likely scenario with Tim this summer, regardless of what happened in the playoffs or what they were going to do financially, was that Tim goes elsewhere.
Yeah, I just knew we had 1 year of him. That was it. It was never going to happen. Unless, because either it was going to suck and we just weren't going to bring him back, or he was going to be really good and he was going to make more money. I was not counting on that at all.
Yeah. Okay, so on the Portland thing, what is Portland going to do with all these guards? They have Ja Morant. They have Damian Lillard coming back from his Achilles tear next season. And let me see. Damon's
they got to trade 35. One for sure.
Damon's turning 36 in a couple of weeks. Just interesting. So is he going to be a starting point guard anymore? I don't know. Is he going to be like able to start? Will he like get back there, but maybe won't be like at the beginning of the season? I don't know. They also have Drew Holiday. They also have Scoot Henderson, who they drafted with the second overall pick just 3 years ago, heading into his fourth season, the last year of his rookie scale deal.
What are you seeing now?
I'm responding to Jeff about this. Okay, so I'll just talk through it. So Jeff asked, well, isn't Denver a first apron team as of 4 p.m.? The way that the new CBA got over, or I don't know if these were loopholes in the previous CBA or that they just always had these rules, honestly, but they closed any loophole of like, well, what if you just did some stuff that you can't do under the second apron and then you go over the second apron? No, that's not allowed, because if you do anything that only teams under the second apron are allowed to do, for example, paying like a guy with an exception that is anything but the vet minimum, or if you aggregate salaries in a trade, then you become like actually hard capped at the second apron, and you are not allowed to pass go. You can't collect $200, i.e., you are not allowed to pay Peyton Watson past a point that would get you past the second apron. So that is what I'm saying to Jeff right now. So that there's no loophole there. Like, you can't just be like, well, what if we just did some of this stuff and then we go over later? That's not allowed. So you have to be very aware of these rules.
Yeah, I'm definitely worried about the Lakers being able to offer Pwat, and I don't know. So far, we've done nothing, which is what I was expecting. And like, we don't have to do a like Cam Johnson trade today or anything like that. And like other people in the chat have been saying, there's not going to be a decision on Pwat today, but a lot of these things could affect the market for him. Teams trying to get money and cap space to offer. So let's pray that he stays here. German Giant says, at this stage of LeBron's career, wherever he goes, there will be some negative narrative. Yeah. I mean, he's had negative narratives about him for his whole career, even if he's considered one of the best players ever. Just comes with the territory, I suppose. GPO saying, John, invest in medical staff. Yeah, we haven't gotten any news about that. They had said they were open to it, but no official statements. Still haven't even made moves on the coaching staff. This could be a long summer, you guys, where we're not getting news about the staff or free agents or anything yet. Oh yeah, what if Bones went to Portland and rapped with Dame and Ja? He should have done that.
More guards in Portland.
Dai Katana, worst thing Denver could do is run it back and hope it's going to be okay. Squad is hard capped. They need a bench, physical players, ball handlers. Even if they didn't want to run it back, can they actually pull off deals to not run it back? I don't know.
Can they pull off deals to not run it back? I mean, yes, but the question is, will those deals be good?
Well, that's what I'm saying is, could they even make a deal? I'm like, can you guys make a deal for a trade with another organization? I guess they did for MPJ last summer, so I know they can do a trade, but
I mean, they made a deal for Val. Like, they've executed trades, just like haven't really in like, those are the only trades they've done since I've been following the team.
Yeah. Yeah,
since
true.
2023,
usually,
which is kind of crazy. Like trades for players, they've traded like picks, like up and down, like within the draft and that kind of thing, but not for players. Just
not
like
a lot of getting new players in trades since Aaron Gordon. Yeah.
KCP.
Oh yeah.
Since KCP. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, what a great trade.
I know. So Mile High Pete, Buckets since 88, was very excited about this trade. Miles Bridges to Phoenix, because he hates the Suns and he loves them just leaning into being terrible as an organization. So the Suns, the Hornets traded Miles Bridges and their 2029 first round pick and the 2027 second round pick. Okay. For Phoenix's 2033 first round pick. My response to that was, why? Miles Bridges had like a mildly better season last year. But is a terrible human and like not a great player and like makes too much money for like what he brings to the table. There's like all these things where I'm just like, why? Somebody pointed out that half of the Suns roster is clutch clients now, which is interesting. Is Rich Paul setting up a new fiefdom in Phoenix? Now with Bridges, Dylan Brooks, Oso Ighodaro, Jordan Goodwin, Common Malawak, Rasheer Fleming, and Koa Pete is apparently a clutch client too, which is interesting. He was rumored to be on the Nuggets draft list, and then they were like, nope, we're going to trade back. We're not interested. And we got Trevin Brazil. I think that's an interesting like kind of side story to the NBA too, is like some of these shifting agency alliances. That's become a bigger story, I think, over the last couple of years, as like it feels to me that even though players are like getting paid still under this new CBA, obviously they have a little bit less power with like where they go and where they can get their money. And I think that that's not just like a player disempowerment story as much as it is like an agency disempowerment story. Like it seems like teams and like front offices are like not allowing themselves to be like bullied by agents and agencies anymore with how some of these deals go down. But you haven't just completely like taken away their power. Nature abhors a vacuum. So they just set up shop somewhere else. Right. So that's just, I think that's an interesting like NBA politics story.
They've never really been a fan of Rich Paul, and I've definitely heard arguments on
the Suns?
Both sides. The NBA like ownership group and other like teams. And
I mean, he's not the only one. Like we talked about the Excel Sports fiefdom here in Denver. CAA like runs the New York Knicks kind of thing too.
But one thing we didn't talk about was, Clutch represents Pwat, and if LeBron is pissed at the Lakers and Rich Paul's pissed at the Lakers, would he? I don't think he probably wouldn't get like so personal to the point where he would sabotage some massive deal for Pwat to the Lakers. But I wish it would happen, but probably not. As much as people think Rich Paul probably is like personal and personally like manipulates the market to get the players he wants together and all that.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some of these other deals while we. Oh, I saw a tweet. Free agent wing Kelly Oubre Jr. plans to meet with, and then lists like 5 teams.
Where is he going to go? Is he coming to the Nuggets? Does he have value?
Denver's not on the list of teams that he's meeting with.
So. Damn.
Yeah. I know. I wanted Kelly Oubre for Denver 2 years ago, and then he had that great season and then kind of dropped off from there. But he would have been really helpful in 2024, actually. Just having some perimeter creation from the like a small ball 4 spot actually would have been exactly what Denver was like. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. I won't harp on that. All right, next big piece of news. We got some like surprising kind of extension / non-extension stories. The first one I've got here is Lu Dort gets his team option picked up by the OKC Thunder. That's $17.7 million. This puts OKC about $7 million over the second apron for now. It seemed like they were kind of waiting for like a trade to materialize, but we didn't hear anything about those talks. Maybe they're just less leaky than some other, teams necessarily are. I thought they were going to decline his team option and Lu Dort would be a Laker this season because he would definitely be high on the target list for the Lakers, being that defensive wing. Exactly, frankly, what the Lakers have been like trying to get, and like a good Marcus Smart replacement who may or may not be returning to the Lakers this year. Now that they have all that,
well, he declined his thing.
Huh?
Or did the Lakers decline? Whatever.
He declined his player option.
Free agent,
Marcus Smart,
but he could still go back.
Option. He could still go back. Yeah.
I don't think.
Do you think this is part, like the fact that they picked up his team option, is part of what's fueling the rumors about Cason Wallace being open to going elsewhere?
I love that. Get Cason Wallace out of there.
Because it seems like it's like. Okay, he's thinking maybe Lu Dort's going to be gone, and that means starting role for him. I mean, OKC could just move Lu Dort to the bench, but I don't think that he would love that, given that he's now in like a second contract year. And it's like, if you're not going to use me, then decline my team option so I can go get paid somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's not like OKC declined his team option and then extended him. I think he'd like to like make his longer term money. So it's kind of a weird situation, I think. I know Shea spoke up in favor of Lu Dort at his exit interview presser. Just like very specifically, pointedly was like Lu Dort's like kind of my guy on this team, and like he's like a soul of this team kind of comments that he didn't need to make, but he definitely was like pointed about that. I thought that was interesting. Did they re-sign him because his countryman SGA wanted him? Yes, but they didn't sign him to like a longer term deal. So I think it's like a weird situation, especially with the Cason Wallace stuff, where it was like, he's a player that, I mean, unlike Christian, has already proven it's time for me to step up to be that starter role. Whereas like Denver kind of thrust Christian into that role and was like, fill this. Cason's kind of shown like, okay, like I'm ready. I'm here. I'm ready to make starter level impact. I've like been doing this. But they're like holding him down. And I think that Casey Wallace would like to be somewhere where he can start because he does. I think that he's shown himself to be a starting caliber player, and that's going to affect what his next contract could be. So does this sow discord in the OKC Thunder locker room? I don't know.
I mean, I get the idea that they weren't going to keep Dort because of the financial stuff, and they're already feeling the pain. So I'm happy we're finally there a little bit in terms of people are starting to leave OKC. It may not be like the impactful guys we want. And didn't Hartenstein sign something with them? Did he sign an extension?
Hartenstein?
Isaiah Hartenstein?
Yes.
Yeah.
We talked about that last week, yeah.
So, but I was like, why would Dort leave? Their whole brand of basketball is flopping and being dirty and like cheating on the court. So I was like,
I mean, he could do that on the Lakers too and get the same whistle. So
yeah, but I mean,
why would he want to leave? He would want to leave so that he could get paid for more than one year of like guaranteed money. Like it's time for him to make his money, kind of thing.
Only OKC
on maybe like his last big contract, because I think like the music is eventually going to stop on the whole Lu Dort player experience. But he's like, I'm a all defense caliber wing. I don't know how many more years I'm going to be that, so I need to like capitalize on it. So I think it's a weird situation for, frankly, all parties involved, because it puts OKC over the second apron. So I don't think they want to do it. It doesn't allow Lu Dort to go out and get a longer term contract. So I don't think it's ideal for him. Casey Wallace clearly unhappy with potentially having another year where he doesn't get kind of promoted to that starting caliber role. I guess Shea's happy because Lu Dort's not gone. And that's like maybe all it works for. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
So far, we've only gotten news on DeAndre Jordan and Tim Hardaway Jr., both former Nuggets vets.
Yeah. So we actually got news on the picks from the Kawhi Leonard deal. Okay. So the first round picks that they're getting are 2031 and 2033. So like further off of Toronto's, and they're getting a 2027 first round swap. I didn't even know that the Clippers had a pick in 2027. Oh, they do. It's just that OKC owns the swap rights to it, so now they would have maybe like a better pick there than they had, which would have been OKC's and probably last in the first round. Okay, cool. That's I think that's really good value for the Clippers, honestly. One question I have about this is like, what is the resolution to the aspiration thing going to be? And oh my God, like this can't just be a punishment to Kawhi Leonard. Like it has to be a punishment on the team because they're the ones that circumvent the salary gap potentially if they're, found to have done so, with anybody that has eyeballs and has followed the case. So I don't think that the fact that Kawhi's been traded should affect whatever the ultimate punishment is, but I'm afraid it will, especially because it's been so damn long that they've been doing.
Do you think it will affect it?
Yes, because like if the punishment is like Kawhi's contract is null and void, then that doesn't punish the Clippers at all. I don't know what it's going to be, but I know that like those are the kinds of things that were kind of thrown around and like floated. Maybe it was just a trial balloon they were throwing out around the All-Star break, but I'm like, what did you think the response to something like that was going to be? Of course, people were going to be pissed if that's all that it came down to, because nobody said that like Kawhi was innocent in all of this, but he's not the one that committed the like breach. You know what I mean? The Clippers are the ones that created the breach, that committed the breach potentially, if that is, what's found.
I find it, I do wonder what it means for the punishment, to the point where I'm even wondering, is there going to be any? Because this trade's going through. It's not like the league's going to stop them and be like, wait, you can't actually do that because, we might be doing some weird shit with this contract that would affect the trade. Maybe that will completely change the punishment they're considering. But it is totally unsatisfying to not even know what the hell is happening with that. And meanwhile, this trade's happening. But Are you happy to see Kawhi leave the West and go back to
I
the
don't
Raptors?
care. The Clippers have been irrelevant.
Not a Kawhi believer.
As many stars as like leave my conference as possible, great. But like, I don't care.
But it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Good for the Raptors fans.
Yeah, great for the Raptors fans. I think the East is actually shaping up to be like a lot more entertaining next year, especially with like Hallie coming back, and now that the Raptors are like good and like making the playoffs potentially again. Giannis going to the Heat and not being on that sad ass Milwaukee Bucks team. So that's just like, oh, there's like some interesting like competitive teams in there. Boston is always in the mix. Literally, it doesn't matter what happens to them. They were the 2 seed last year with Tatum out like most of the season kind of thing. So you're gonna have some like, okay, there's some like anticipated competition there at the top that makes things a lot more more interesting. In addition to the Hawks might be interesting middle tier team again, and whatever else has sort of characterized the I think most interesting storylines in the East. Obviously the Knicks coming back from their title, like they're going to be in the mix as well for like those top spots.
We did beat Kawhi a lot in the playoffs. We beat LeBron a lot in the playoffs. Could LeBron be going east as well? Maybe. And so it'd be funny, both of those guys, those old dudes going somewhere else. And while I am a Western Conference guy, in just the sense that the Nuggets are in the West, and I like talking about how the West is stronger than the East is kind of like its own weird little league that I can kind of be interested in because it doesn't really affect me too much.
Exactly. It's kind of like watching.
So I can kind of have fun watching it.
Yeah.
But I still will talk shit about
it's like
how
watching European basketball, where it's like, cool. I'm not terribly invested in this. This is just like fun. What's going on over there? Just kind of
exactly. It's
popping in.
Yeah. I mean, I know the Knicks won, so yeah, respect to them. But
I didn't even mention Orlando. It's funny.
Yeah, you actually kind of have connections to a team in the East.
I mean, they have the talent to be like in that same mix, but they haven't been able to like put everything together. The synergy hasn't been there. Maybe they just needed another year with Desmond Bane. Maybe he's like their Cam Johnson.
I'm sure.
Terribly inefficient season from him last year. Like shockingly so. I don't think that it can be that bad again. Like it would be impossible.
Man, Johnathan Isaac on a minimum from Vyacheslav.
Yeah. The only thing with that I will say is that Denver has a lot of forwards right now and we really need guards. And I think the roster is like so top heavy, or not top heavy, but like forward heavy, just like that at that position. And we know we've got wings, especially if we end up not trading anybody. But if we do end up trading a starter, we probably need another like wing, like perimeter oriented wing. In addition to the guard depth. So that would be the one thing that would give me pause, but I'd rather have a good, potentially serviceable player than not.
I'm kind of like, we have forwards, but I don't know that we have any playable forwards.
I agree. I agree
so
with
like,
you,
what's
but that's
happening?
The thing is like, I wish we could consolidate some of these unplayable guys into like a playable guy, but
yeah, totally.
That would be the one thing that gives me pause if I'm thinking like, would Denver go after this? It's like, I don't know, because they've like filled the roster with forwards that we don't know if they're even going to play. So I don't know how much they want to go after somebody that would like definitely play ahead of all of those guys, honestly, behind AG. Yeah. They would probably, I feel like they'd pass because they're like, no, like we have to play DaRon. We have to play, I was going to say Zeke. I mean, they do have to play Zeke because they don't have any more future second round picks and first round picks to throw in to salary dump him. So
Ray says, my understanding is that the Raptors owner, Larry Tannenbaum, is chair of NBA Board of Governors. Thoughts on the Kawhi?
Raptors outgoing owner. Outgoing? What do you mean? Are the Raptors selling? They got a new front office, but what do you mean outgoing owner?
Maybe just
is this like is this like one of the minority owners? Like just somebody that has a stake in the team? Or Vyacheslav, why not a buyout for Zeke? I've thought about it. I need to double check the buyout rules. I think you might you might end up hard capping yourself at one of the aprons. I don't know which one if you do like a cash buyout for a player. Maybe it's only if you try to get a player off the buyout market. I need to check that. But I've thought about the waive and stretch option also of Vyacheslav. The thing with the buyout is that you would only do that in the last year. Because I think there'd still be part of the cap, just like with the waive and stretch, part of your cap would still be hit by like the subsequent year. But I'm sure that's something that is like heavily under consideration for them.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where it's more like feasible. But man, so many people have been involved in, or like theoretical trades, even Christian and Zeke, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
To the point where it was starting to make me believe it was possible.
Okay, so another surprising non-extension, and this is related to Denver's situation. Like, I've been tracking this since last year. Johnathan Kuminga gets his team option declined with Atlanta. Jake Fisher has reported that Cleveland might be a team that is interested. Who knows if that's just coming from the agent that's just like, I promise there's like a team that might sign him. Is this a cautionary tale on taking the qualifying offer? Because the idea with Johnathan Kuminga was like, I don't like my role or what Golden State's willing to offer me. I wanted that $30 million. They only want to give me $20 million, and it's like 3 years and maybe with a team option. I don't want that. So I'm going to take the qualifying offer, which he did take, which gave him a de facto no trade clause, which meant that he had to agree to be traded to Atlanta when Golden State wanted to trade to Atlanta. I thought that was with the express understanding that Atlanta was going to be willing to extend him this summer. Apparently not the case. And now they're declining his team option. I've also heard that Sacramento is not interested in pursuing Kuminga anymore after being interested in like orchestrating, like we said, they were trying to do a sign and trade for him last summer. Kuminga, Quentin Grimes, and Cam Thomas are the players I'm looking at this summer, because I mean Cam Thomas is like probably maybe the biggest one of all, because he ended up getting waived mid-season by the Bucks so he took the qualifying offer from Brooklyn. Brooklyn traded him to Milwaukee, and then eventually Milwaukee's like, we're done with it. We waive him. Don't even not even going to deal with it. And does this affect the thinking of not just the players, but their teams with how to go about dealing with restricted free agency and the leverage that you might have with like trying to threaten to just take the qualifying offer, which makes it more difficult for your team to get something of substance back in a trade for you. For guys like Peyton, Jalen Duren, who doesn't seem is going to be on that path if Detroit is serious about being willing to match anything. And Walker Kessler from the Utah Jazz, who has expressed some discontent there and might be a potential target for the Lakers. But I mean, it probably won't affect him, because if the Lakers are willing to just pay him, then there's no need for trying to leverage taking the qualifying offer to get your team to agree to a sign and trade. I think this is a terrible outcome for Johnathan Kuminga, depending on like what money he can get from somewhere. I don't know if he's going to get like a mid-level maybe somewhere. What I'll remind you is what was, to my understanding, on offer last year was a 3-year, $60 million deal from the Lakers, or from the Warriors last season. With maybe the last year as a team option, I think, and maybe he wanted a player option or whatever. Or it was like just fully guaranteed with like no options, and then Kuminga wanted a player option, something like that. And now he's staring down the face of free agency I mean, maybe the Lakers want to take a flyer on him, because he's an unrestricted free agent. They don't have to deal with like another team, and they're just like, hey, young athletic guy that can score and like be a transition threat for Luka and like all of this stuff. Like, he's, I think, younger than Peyton. They're the same age. He's like a few weeks younger than Peyton. So like really young guy. Weeks. Yeah, a few weeks younger than Peyton. And I think it's just a terrible situation to have ended up in when you were just trying to use what like little leverage you had as a restricted free agent to try and get something better and end up in a better situation.
Yeah. I mean, the Kuminga stuff's been so confusing. It's been like everywhere in terms of its state. He's been thought of as a starter in Golden State, and then they weren't playing him, and now he's in Atlanta, and now he's not even getting renewed. It's just like, what is going on with this? It's like such a confusing situation.
That's funny. DNVR said they weren't going to go live at their normal time. They'd go live as soon as the Nuggets make their first move, but Denver hasn't done anything and they're about to go live.
So they're just not going live.
They're going live now. They gave up.
God. I wonder if this will make the NBA want to change some things, because I feel like the NBA loved free agency being like an exciting time for fans in the league, and now it's like dead completely.
I mean, the time leading up to free agency has been pretty exciting, right?
True.
I mean, Kawhi gets traded. LeBron is like, I'm out. I mean, LeBron is still at large right now. I mean, like
LeBron
is the biggest. LeBron James being the biggest free agent target is a pretty interesting situation. It's just nothing's happening like immediately, and I think that's more a function of like the Lakers being dumbasses than like LeBron, than like a CBA thing or whatever. Like, what would they change? You know, the whole thing is that the rules favor extensions more. So, are you going to like disfavor extensions somehow? I think there's a lot of people that like these rules because they can lock in like financial security sooner.
Yeah, and nothing on Spencer Jones. I don't know when that would even. I mean,
Spencer's going to try to get something more than a minimum, and then when he can't get that, Denver will give him like a multi-year minimum deal, basically.
Yeah.
Tyus. Tyus might be. Can you imagine if like Tyus Jones is like weighing his options and trying to get something better?
Than the Nuggets.
Kind of embarrassing for Denver. Couple other just like smaller extensions that happened. Landry Shamet did extend for 4 years, $24 million with New York. As far as I can tell, those years are fully guaranteed. That shocked me. This is not a breaking one, by the way. This is just one that was from the last few days. Well, I was kind of surprised. I'm going to be surprised whenever a bench player gets a 4-year deal outside of OKC, because they always try to like lock in their like second round picks early so that they can pay them less on average annual value, and then just be like, we'll pay you a year early. Because the last two that bench players that got those kinds of deals were literally Zeke Nnaji, Peyton Pritchard, and Jared Vanderbilt. 2 of those guys are like untradeable, and the third one is untouchable in trade talks in Peyton Pritchard, because he proved himself before he got that deal, whereas Bando and Zeke were kind of like given their contracts with the idea that they would be the player that is worth that, even though they're like bench guys, inconsistent, all of this stuff. I'm surprised that New York is giving Landry Shamet a 4-year deal. I'm not surprised at the number, like $6 million a year is whatever, especially in a ascending cap environment. So he's basically getting what Tim Hardaway Jr. got on a 1-year, like, except on multiple years. But it's the 4 years that really surprised me. I don't think it was necessary. Like, I don't know how much excitement Landry Shamet was going to generate in the trade market. Now, if it comes out that like the last 2 years are like partially guaranteed, I'm like, okay, or like non-guaranteed, I'd be like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But as far as I can tell, they're fully guaranteed. So that's what surprised me about that one. Another extension, Kevin Huerter gets 3 years, $27 million with Detroit. So a higher average annual value. The thing that surprised me about this, Kevin Huerter only shot above 35% from 3 in 2 of the last 5 seasons, and only 1 of the last 3 seasons. And that was the 3 seasons ago, like the first of the last 3 years. So I don't know why Detroit was in a rush to give him like a multi-year guaranteed deal. I don't know how hot his free agency market would have been, but maybe they just didn't want to test it and they didn't want to lose any kind of shooting on a team that's already sort of bereft of shooting. Yeah. But you know what? This could be like a precursor to a deal that lands Duncan Robinson back in Miami, and they're just like, we know we're losing Duncan to Miami. Although I would just be like, no, I'm keeping Duncan. I'm not going to let Miami have him. I'm just going to eat the money because Duncan makes more, but he's better. He didn't shoot particularly well last year, but he's a better overall player than Kevin Huerter. Better playmaker, just like really operates well like within the offense and is like not as bad of a defender. Looking at
when Duncan Robinson,
and actually like he's been more efficient. Like actually he shot 39% from 3 over the last 3 seasons. I feel like whenever I watched him, he was like breaking everything. But actually he's been making his shots. No, Duncan. Kevin Huerter is not. So
yeah.
I'm kind of confused by this move from Detroit. Especially if they let Duncan go back to Miami, but maybe it's just like look, he's not as good, but we need to clear up some money, even though you don't actually, to pay Jalen Duren. So we're just going to bite the bullet and not pay more for Duncan Robinson.
Could Detroit be a LeBron team?
No. I don't see LeBron going to Detroit.
That would be pretty funny.
Trying to see here.
I think they'd be good, though. Vyacheslav, who will be our center next year? Is there any rumor for a backup center? It's definitely a need.
Yeah, they need
definitely
one.
Not bringing Val. But again,
maybe they get one in summer league, same as the backup point guard. They just use summer league as auditions. It's a position
that never works. Even when we commit to trying it, we just don't do it. And I keep
expecting them to just my thing is like the bar has been like the people keep moving the goalposts. They're like, can we just be neutral in the Jokic minutes? And we were like pretty close to neutral in the Jokic minutes last year, but everyone was still pissed off about it because it's like, no, you're not winning them because like all the money's in the starting lineup still. That hasn't changed, but you can get pretty close to neutral. And I thought Val did an admirable job. I'm not saying they should like fight to like bring back Val this year. We kind of knew that was a 1-year rental anyway. I'm just saying it like hasn't been as bad as people have said, especially the last 2 years. Like it was pretty bad for most of the 24-25 season. There were long stretches when it was like, nope, DeAndre Jordan was just serviceable backup. And we were just straight up like, I think like after March, they were straight up winning the bench minutes for like a month kind of thing. And it's like, I think people keep forgetting about those moments and only remember like some of the other games. And I think that like part of what clouded it for this season, especially was the time when like the bench was doing the best in February, March was when Jokic was at his worst. So we were still losing games, even though we were like winning or like neutral in the bench minutes because we were losing the starter minutes. So
yeah.
It's just a very it's a very unforgiving job. It's very thankless. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a very thankless job to be the backup center in Denver. All right. So we'll probably keep this going another. Go ahead.
30-year-old bigs is they have one good game and we go right back to them the next night. As someone in their 30s, it's not the move. Yeah, definitely inconsistent, and yeah, they can't get as much usage out of them.
I mean, bench players are inconsistent, so backup centers are going to be inconsistent. That's the unless you want your backup center to be like sixth man caliber. But Denver doesn't want to invest that level of money in the center spot behind Jokic because they know they're not going to play that many minutes, so they don't want to do that. And like that's an understandable position to take. It's just like a trade-off you have to be willing to accept. Because if your best player were not a center and your backup center could play more with your best player, then Denver play more minutes with your best player. Denver would be willing to invest more capital in that spot because it would literally be more minutes on the floor. It's just not. So they're not. But they do need to find one. I just don't know how good they're going to be.
It's going to be like another vet minimum who doesn't play.
Yeah. Okay, some unsurprising extensions. Just like a quick rundown here of less surprising moves. Jalen Clark re-signed with Mini, 3 years, $10 million. So just a little over a vet minimum kind of deal, which is, I can see that being close to what Spencer gets at the end of all this. Julian Champagnie, this one was unsurprising that it happened, but maybe the number is pretty surprising. 3 years, $45 million in San Antonio. That's an incredible deal for the Spurs for a starter that was or a player that was their starting power forward throughout the NBA playoffs and made it all the way to the finals and was a good shooter until the finals and rebounded his butt off despite being undersized in every single matchup. Total scam contract. I would like to have words with Julian's agent. Yeah. He was just straight up good, unequivocally last season, and this doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense to me. He's going to be making a little bit less than Duncan Robinson, despite being a good bit younger. Let me see how old Julian Champagnie. He's only 25. Yeah. Really good deal for the Spurs. I think he could have gotten more, but here we are.
Oh, it's Wade in the chat. Hello, Wade.
Hey.
J. Huff Hartenstein, I wish, yes. Yeah, not as much of a traditional center, but I mean, I don't know about J. Huff, but some touch around the rim.
I would actually, and this is something we talked about with CT, I would like Denver to be more open to committing to some more double big, because that would be another way to get them to invest more in the center spot, because it would be more opportunities for the backup center to play with your best player. But they just haven't been willing to do that. And I mean, I'm just saying right now, without any trades that involve a backup center, and I haven't actually seen a lot of trade ideas that involve Denver getting backup center in all of the deals that people have been wanting to make this offseason. They're only going to have a vet minimum or a mini MLE probably at the most to spend on this player in free agency. So unless it's a trade, I'm just not going to have very high hopes for that player. Oh, good point, Wade. I mean, they would have been gone anyway, because if they played well, they would have gotten paid more elsewhere. Denver's, like I said, Denver's not going to invest financially in that spot because they're just not going to play a lot. That's how it is.
Do you think they should? Or do you like that reasoning?
I think it's reasonable. I think their reasoning is very sound, because if your backup center cannot play a lot of minutes with your best player because your best player is a starting center and you never do double big, those two things are true, then why would you spend a lot of your cap space on that when you have other players you could invest that money and cap space in that can play a lot of minutes with your best player? It's a different situation than when your best player is a perimeter guy, because it's not perimeter guys can play with other perimeter guys. But for the most part, starting centers aren't playing a lot of minutes with their backup centers unless you're a team that is committed to double big. Denver's not. So, I think that the you could talk about that being a play style thing. I mean, personally, I want Denver to not necessarily be committed to double big. I'd like them to be more open to it. But that's I understand completely why that is. But the rest of the problem is that there's not a lot of money, period, invested in the rest, the bench players. So it's not just on the center, although that position is very important. And I've been saying that for like 3 seasons now, because it, especially on this team with the way that the roster is constructed, so much of what Denver does on both ends of the floor is anchored by how the center plays, that it becomes an important position. But then, like, I think Denver needs to change the way they play before before it makes sense to financially invest in that spot. Like, I actually understand that.
Yeah.
DaRon Sharpe, speaking of, signed a 2-year, $20 million deal with Brooklyn. They declined his team option and gave him a 2-year extension. This is a very interesting question to me with Brooklyn, because I've been asking Nets people, like, what is Brooklyn going to do at starting center? And they say it's going to be DaRon Sharpe. But if they were going to start DaRon Sharpe, shouldn't he have had more leverage in these negotiations than to accept a deal to be paid $10 million to be a starting center on a team that doesn't have any other centers on their roster right now? So I'm not totally buying that. The Brooklyn Nets, we talked about it, traded Nick Claxton to the Bulls for nothing. So just another member of their front court gone. They've got some forwards, but they really don't have a true like starting center. Even DaRon Sharpe would be like a little bit undersized at that position, although he's a good rebounder. But he's, again, like, even if he is the starting center, he's the only one there. So I think, I had this as a question here, but I think the Brooklyn Nets are looking to go after a bigger fish in, like, during free agency, not in free agency. Because I think they're going to try to trade for someone that is closer to a starting caliber center. Whether it's going to be a sign and trade or whatever it is, I think Brooklyn's looking to add talent, and they've left that center spot in particular pretty bare on the current roster. So I expect it to be there. That's just like my little pet investigation. So we're gonna close this out in about 15 minutes, if nothing else is happening.
Yeah, Claxton could have been cool. I always wanted Jarrett Allen in Denver, but I don't. That was before. That was a long time ago.
What about Jarrett
Allen? I always wanted him in Denver, but that was like back in the bubble.
Well, now he makes $30 million a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've heard him be like rumored in some. He's always kind of been rumored to be moved, but we'll see.
Ryan said, well, I was live for 90 minutes and a lot of people are disappointed. Bring back tampering at NBA.
Yeah, I was like, that they're either really following the tampering rules.
Well, I think the LeBron stuff matters now. I think the LeBron stuff, like we said, like, oh, maybe some things will happen because we got a little bit of a trickle early, but I think the LeBron stuff has actually held some things up.
LeBron had to go in and make it about him again.
Yep.
Damn it.
I know. Another center, Robert Williams III, got a 3-year, $44 million deal with Portland. Unsurprising because like when he's on the floor, he's good, but surprising given the injury history. I'm curious about the guarantees again on this kind of deal. Andrew Wiggins was another one with Miami. He actually took like not a discount, but he took a pay cut off of his previous like annual salary. But extended for 3 years, $64 million with Miami, including a player option on the last year. Friend of the show, Denver Shorts, over on Twitter, actually commented that maybe perhaps this salary range is like a good comp for Peyton, because you've got some things like in like for and against him on both sides of like an Andrew Wiggins comp. One, Wiggins is like a better player, right? So it's like hard to justify paying Peyton more than him. You could also say, well, Peyton's younger and he has more like upside potential at this point in his career. Like Peyton, you could conceive of him eventually becoming better than Andrew Wiggins, even though like he's clearly not right now. Two-way player, like two-way wing. Andrew Wiggins, I think, is a more consistent defender. Maybe doesn't pressure like the rim quite as much as Peyton has the potential to consistently, but is like a clear kind of third option offensively at his best, third, fourth option offensively at his best. And that's probably where you see Peyton in like the near term. So that could be interesting. So that would put the annual salary at something around 21 between 21 and 22 million a year.
Something.
Yeah. So that's something to watch. Hopefully Denver actually takes heed of those instead of what they did with Christian last year. Jusuf Nurkic re-signed with Utah, 2 years, $22 million, so $11 million a year. That's kind of like where the backup center market seems to be kind of focused on, or like centered on around the like $11 to $13 million a year for like a solid backup.
Where is he in compared to Val last season?
I don't know. Probably like better.
A little better?
Yeah. But with a worse attitude.
Yeah, true. He doesn't get a tax for that?
No, he does. Million? But like, I mean, Val was making 10. And that was just like the deal that he got that previous, like 2 summers ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the last one I've got here is Harrison Barnes extending for 1 year with San Antonio, $8 million. So pretty big pay cut off what he was making before, which is like appropriate because I think everyone agrees he was pretty overpaid before on that previous deal that Sacramento had given him. So they get to keep the gang together over there. They keep their locker room vet. They keep Champagnie on a scam deal, and everybody else, I think, is just kind of signed. Let me see how many roster spots San Antonio actually has. Oh, I can't believe they signed Jaden Quaintance or drafted Jaden Quaintance. Haven't signed him yet, but they will. So they've got 5 roster spots left. I wonder if Kelly Olynyk or Bismack Biyombo will be back next year, especially with Quaintance on the roster. They did draft 2 centers. I forgot they got Terrence Reed Jr. also in that later first round. So maybe both of them are gone. Bismack and Olynyk, that is.
Would LeBron go to the Spurs?
I don't know. I think LeBron is only going to teams that are actively courting him, and I don't know that the Spurs are actively courting.
They wouldn't want that.
LeBron.
It would be weird to throw that at Wemby when he doesn't really need. He already made it to the finals. He doesn't need like the LeBron mentor.
Yeah. What's that meme of like, now go in there and make it about you? And it's like Rich Paul hyping up LeBron.
It's like it's like the guy looking into the mirror.
Yeah. Okay.
Pointing. Yeah. It's usually like a ref meme, but it is used a lot for LeBron.
Okay. Then perfect. I'm going to post that.
I mean, he did ruin free agency, man. And he's like, I want all teams. I want to talk to all teams. So I delay every single thing that could be possibly happening.
I mean, all the teams that are interested.
Which I don't know how many are.
A lot. Depending on what he's willing to take. Like, that's the question, right?
Yeah. That's like so hard to even know. Like, yeah, you go into the meeting being like, could we get him on a minimum? And then it could be anything under the sun. It could be, I don't know how much he would want.
So anything you're looking forward to seeing at Summer League?
I mean, I want to see the new guys.
Yeah. I think they're going to use Summer League to audition backup point guards, like third string point guards, because I think they're probably just going to end up signing Tyus Jones. But they're going to need more.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Ray that like if they're just signing Tyus, it's such like a admission of defeat in a way. It's like that's all you could do. But
I mean, they have to fill out other roster spots too. Brazil highlight lob. Yeah. That's going to be fun. I really want to see his athleticism in person. I need to see this jaw dropping vertical.
Summer League is such a weird thing. I remember being excited about Trey Alexander. Nuggets, develop some young players, please. Follow through on something. Vyacheslav, if we sign big name like JB, would you come back tonight for another show? No.
No.
Fortunately, we cannot come back. But
cannot, because
yeah.
Love Island movie night is tonight, and I'm going to a watch party. If Denver does something big later in the week, we might do like an emergency pod on just that move. But
yeah, maybe we'll do another one.
Otherwise, we're probably coming back at the end of free agency to see like has Nikola Jokic signed his extension, and have we figured out a deal with Peyton Watson? And yeah.
DaRon make a leap, become a playable bench guy would be so huge for us.
Yeah.
I did want to say something about DaRon.
The leap would be, I mean, it's not even a leap. Like, he just maybe needs to clean up some mistakes. But I think he's playable. He just needs to work through things. And DA didn't give him that runway at all last year.
Well, it was. I don't know how much you read into this, and I don't think we talked about it on the show yet. But at the presser with John Wallace and Ben Tenzer after the draft, I liked that one of the reporters asked about Holmes, and they kind of were hinting at the fact that it was more of a like psychological thing coming back from the Achilles, and they were like mentally we didn't want to rush him back.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they really were seeing that he was kind of
the game was too fast for him, kind of thing,
or just being worried about re-injuring himself.
Yeah,
being hesitant. I didn't necessarily see that when I saw whatever I saw from him on the gold and all that, but they would know more than me how he was feeling. But
I mean, like, you saw how Jamal looked when he came back from his ACL rehab, and combining that with that being your first NBA experience is probably like a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's probably like weird. A little bit of BS though. Like, to be honest, I think it's maybe a little bit true, but also convenient to.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you gonna say? We didn't want to play him. He's not that good. I mean, you could potentially still trade him. But I really wish that he can get some more playing time, and he ends up being pretty good. Also, yeah, Straw there. Like the more time goes on that we don't do anything, like we're gonna have to commit to playing Straw there more.
So got a couple deals here. Brandon Carlson from OKC signed a minimum with the Blazers, so he is out of there. That makes sense because I think their roster is actually literally full. He's just like those random like third string. I think he was a 2A actually for OKC last year. Came in and was like a plus 27 in a game against like the Kings or something that I watched last year. And I was like, who the hell is this? And we didn't talk about Ousmane Dieng got an extension with the Bucks.
Oh yeah,
that happened.
And he was someone maybe.
I think this is important. The Clippers are signing Kobe Sanders to a 4-year, $11 million deal. Is that even like? Does that even meet the minimum requirement? It's probably like just 4-year minimum deal. It seems like. That's more evidence that the Clippers are not trying to clear cap space to sign Peyton, because they could have easily just like waited on this to preserve cap space, and they didn't. So I don't see them as a threat for Peyton Watson. The teams right now that I see as like legitimate, like I think the Lakers are a legitimate threat now that like they still need to resolve the LeBron situation, because if he wants to try to work out a sign and trade, the Lakers might have to take salary back. And that would be better for Denver because it's less potential cap space to sign Peyton and other players that they might need to fill out their roster. But if he ends up like, I'll just take an MLE from someone and leave for nothing, that leaves the Lakers with like their full complement of like 60 million in cap space. They still have a lot of their roster to figure out. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. They still have to figure out a starting center situation, and they need to replace potentially Marcus Smart and like all this other stuff. So I'm not saying that even the amount of cap space that they have would be enough to like hold on to for a week, hoping that Denver doesn't match. That's like why we reiterated those RFA rules at the top of the show. But it's something to keep in mind. I still think Chicago is like the biggest risk here because they've got most of their roster filled out, but they've still got the cap space that they have to spend. I'm not saying that they would necessarily be interested in Peyton, but they've got the opportunity. So they've got the means and the opportunity, maybe not the motive. So that'll be interesting to watch as well.
Yeah. Do you think, how much do you think that LA, like, of what all plays into it though? Because like Chicago can have cap space to offer stuff, but
well, Chicago can offer a deal that Denver wouldn't be willing to match. That's the thing. Or Denver could just match it, or have said weeks ago that they'll match anything so that nobody tries them, but they didn't do that. So here we are. Here we are.
What a free agency. We did not get even a Cam trade.
Trae Young posted
I guess dominoes gotta fall.
Yeah, I think we called it at the beginning. It's like, okay, LeBron actually slowed everything down. So, okay, the way that we'll do this is, yeah, if Denver makes a big move, we'll try to do a show either the next day or within 2 days. But otherwise, we'll see you guys back here next week to recap everything that happened. Maybe by next week, literally nothing will have happened for Denver. That is entirely possible. And we might be in the same situation that Golden State was in last summer, where they didn't sign. They had like 5 open roster spots until right up to training camp, basically, while they were trying to work things out with Kuminga. And that's the nature of having an RFA, so they can kind of hold your free agency hostage too. If you have made it this far, we appreciate you guys the most. Sorry that this was not, the most interesting.
The news was slow, but at least we got to talk about Kawhi and LeBron, and some of it.
A lot of big stuff happened, and we've kind of laid the groundwork for like what you guys should be looking out for this week, and which moves of other teams affect, Denver's potential this summer, this summer as well. If you like our content, please remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on socials. I'll try to post maybe some of my thoughts about any big moves Denver makes from our official account this week if they end up doing anything. And always remember that winning is fun and losing sucks. Thanks, Tess.